Today we will see and discuss free and open source educational softwares for Generation Z students. So in today's talk, we will see the Generation Z and BYOD and what is BYOD and education, then advantages of BYOD and disadvantages. So BYOD stands for bring your own device. Then QPython, it's an Android app. Then Blockly, then Logarithm. So these are the few tools which we will discuss. Then building a new programming language support. So we can take Julia as example. Then future goals. So let us first discuss who are Generation Z students. They're also known as millennials. Okay, so these are born after 1995 and before 2010. So these are the students who are presently studying. So they are more tech savvy. That means they use gadgets heavily. So they are aware of uh, technology. So they know how to use these different gadgets such as mobile phones or even smart watches or smart gadgets. They believe in the philosophy of learning by doing or learning by creating. Then teachers needs to be equipped with the technology. That is very, very important. Okay, so we see that many teachers who are very old, they may not be very much passionate about these upcoming technologies, or sometimes it also happens that they may not be able to pick up due to their age factor. So as I have said, BYOD stands for bring your own device. So we'll see what it is in the next slide. So people born from 1995 to 2010, they are known as true digital natives. So they are exposed to internet, they know what is social media and mobile net device, etc., etc. So with BYOD, it is possible to create one-to-one classroom. So students can bring and use their choice of technological devices in the classroom. So BYOD means nowadays many governments and educational bodies in many countries, they are promoting the idea of BYOD. That is, they don't want to invest on the devices. So they are encouraging students to get their own device to the class. So that means they want students to get their own laptop or their own mobile phone or their own tablets to the classroom. So in many countries, say for example, Austria, USA, Estonia, Australia, Finland, Norway, Portugal, Switzerland, UK, and many other countries, they have the BYOD policies in place. In India also, there's a BYOD policies, and there's a body called as AICTE, that is All India Council for Technical Education. They are also working with Cisco DevNet for securing and increasing the productivity of BYOD in the classrooms at schools. There are some benefits. So the benefits are that the students know the device since they use it daily, so they have access to the device 24/7, so they know the device, and it shows that technology has many possibilities. There are very wonderful apps which they can install on their phones or install on their tablets or even their PCs and enhance their learning. Then they may have access to the cutting edge devices, and it is cost effective. So if uh, we will see in few slides that for people who are not having access to the laptops, they can do the same on their mobile phones. So comparatively, cost of mobile phone is cheaper to the laptop. Then learning outside the school hours is possible. Then the respect for the device, that means they know their device. Since they have invested in their device, so they will use it carefully. And it also results into the organized group of students. They will create their own groups and they will interact among them. Then disadvantages is that Students without devices can also be the possibility because of economic factors. Then one more problem is that the different devices. So some people in the class may use Android device, some people may use Microsoft devices, some people may use Apple devices. So this different device is really a challenge. Then next is the distraction. So they may use it for other purpose. Then it may also result into not responsible student. So you need a appropriate strategy here. You need appropriate softwares which works on all the platforms. There's a app called as QPython. It works on Android operating system. QPython is basically a script engine which runs Python programs on Android devices. It also can help developers to develop Android applications. So it has got advantages such as you can develop the software easily. So it includes a complete development kit which will help you to develop the programs with the mobile phone. Then it is powerful. You can extend it as you want. Then the great support is available if you want to develop the commercial software. And QPython APIs or even embed QPython SDK is also available, and it can save your time. Now this is how the interface looks on your Android phone if you install QPython app. Now you can see here that it supports various features. First one is terminal. So you will get access to the command line. You can start typing, you can just type Python there, it will load Python interpreter, and you can start typing the Python code from that point itself. This is useful for quick testing. The next is editor. So a basic editor is available where you can write the Python program and save it, and you can execute it. Then there is something called as Explorer. So in Explorer you will find many other features such as Jupyter Notebook is also integrated in QPython. So you can import any Jupyter Notebook and you can execute the code, and you can again export the code back to Jupyter Notebook. And you can install few Python packages such as SciPy, NumPy, Matplotlib, etc. using QPyPy link. So this is the screenshot you can see here. So in the first part we have got a terminal, and on the mobile phone itself you can start typing the program. So I had written a small code here, initialized hello QPython and stored it in a variable called as str. Then I'm saying str star 3 so that we print hello QPython 3 times. So you can use the keypad. If you want more sophisticated keypad, then you can go for Hacker's keypad, which is much more sophisticated, and it will help the programmers to type the program. So it works on any Android phone. So this is enough to teach basic Python course or any programming courses basically. So QPython is specifically for Python, but there are ways by which you can install the operating system such as Ubuntu, and you can install any required package, and you can teach programming on a mobile phone. The next is on the next screen, next part you can see the welcome.ipynb file. So that's nothing but the notebook. So it integrates Jupyter and IPython, and it helps you to run the Python code in the notebook. The next is the Blockly. So Blockly is a software tool by Google. So it has a similar structure of MIT Scratch, but it works in the browser. So it's a library for building visual programming editors. So it adds visual blocks, and it adds Visual Code Editor to web and mobile apps. So it's basically it uses interlocking graphical blocks to represent code concepts like variables, logical expressions, loops, and so on. It allows users to apply programming principles without having to worry about the syntax or the intimidation of the blinking cursor on the command line. So the tools which we are discussing, such as Google Blockly or Flogorithm, so here the programmer or the learner need not have to worry about the syntax of the programming language. So here they will use the drag and drop feature, and they will drag the different code block, visual block on the screen, and automatically the code will be generated in the background. So in this way, they need not have to worry much about the programming syntax. This is very, very important for those people whose native language is not English. Say, for example, if you come to India, then of course there are many schools, or most of the schools deliver the content in English, but medium of instruction may be English for many students, but still there is a large population where the medium of instruction is not English. Okay, so they face some problem at the initial stage when they join professional courses like engineering or computing. So in that case, tools such as Blockly and Flogorithm will help them to understand the logic, and they can write the program without much worrying about the syntax of the language. Then from a user's perspective, Blockly is an intuitive visual way to build a code. So from developer's perspective, Blockly is ready-made UI for creating a visual language that emits syntactically correct user-generated code. Then Blockly can export blocks to many programming languages. So it includes JavaScript, Python, PHP, Lua, and Dart. So it's one of the growing number of visual programming environments. So deciding which one to use in your app is very important step. So there are few features which will help you to select the language or the visual programming environment. So Blockly's biggest strengths are the exportable code. So users can extract their block-based programs to common programming languages and the smoothly transition to text-based programming. So you can you might have seen in the previous slide that it supports 5 programming languages. Then open source, so everything Blockly is open, so you can fork it, hack it, and use it in your own sites and Android apps. It is extensible, so you can tweak Blockly to fit your needs by adding custom blocks for your API or removing unneeded blocks and functionality. So this is very, very important feature, extensible. So entire source code is available on GitHub. If you go to the repository of Blockly, you will find the entire repository, and you will also find the nice documentation. So people have already used Blockly. They have already customized Blockly for many uh, kinds of environments. Say for example, Blockly has been already customized for Arduino. Then it is highly capable. So it's not a toy programming language. You can implement complex programming tasks like calculating a standard deviation in a single block. It is truly international. That means it has been translated to 40 plus languages. So including right to left and right to left versions of Arabic and Hebrew. So that means that you can drag and drop a block, and whatever text you write there, you can write it in 40 plus languages. So this is how the Google Blockly Python code looks. Okay, so on the leftmost side, you can see that there are many options such as logic, loops, math, text, lists, color, variables, and functions. So when you click on one of these, you will get the list of blocks. Then you can select a block which suits your requirement. Then you can see here the interlocking. So it looks like a jigsaw puzzle where you are arranging the random blocks of an image into their correct position. Okay, so here it's a very simple program which prints hello world 3 times. So as you drag and drop the blocks on this large canvas, the corresponding code will be generated on the right hand. So default language is JavaScript, but you can select any language here. Okay, you just select the language and you will get the code in that particular language. So it's a very nice tool to try and very nice tool to teach programming. So next one is a Flogorithm. So if you consider Blockly, some institutions or some teachers may not consider it. So for them, the solution is Flogorithm because it is more formal and you can easily incorporate Flogorithm into your curriculum. Okay, that's because you can directly draw a flowchart and you can execute a flowchart. So instead of supplying inputs to the program, you are supplying inputs to the flowchart. So Flogorithm, you can call it as a flowchart interpreter. So it's a free beginners programming tool and is based on simple graphical flowcharts. This tool is created by Professor Devin Cook in US. I'm not able to recollect the university name, but you can go to flogorithm.org website and you will find all the details. So typically when a student first learns a program, they often use one of the text-based programming languages. So depending on the language, this can either be easy or frustratingly difficult. So many languages require you to write lines of confusing code just to display the text hello world. But of course, now we are having modern languages such as Python or Julia. So where you can directly write a single line to write the hello world. Then by using flowcharts, you can concentrate on programming concepts rather than all the nuances of typical programming language. So you can also run your programs directly in the Flogorithm. I strongly prefer and recommend this approach, that is visual way of teaching programming concepts, because we are moving towards low code or no code environments. So where we need not have to write the programs, you will already there are already developed softwares. We just need to customize them, and it caters to the requirements of most of the people. So once you understand the programming logic, it is easy for you to learn one of the major languages. So Flogorithm can interactively convert your flowchart to over 18 languages. So these include C Sharp, C++, Java, JavaScript, Lua, and so on. And the interesting feature is that it allows you to add your own language support. So programming Flogorithm features, so it is very easy to understand the output, graphical variable watch window is available, then interactively generate real code, then safe recursion is possible, then loops, arrays, and flexible expressions, then, and also multilingual support is available. So these are the flowchart symbols supported by Flogorithm. So you can see here, you can also write comment for a flowchart, then input output symbols, variables, symbols. So in variable you have got two options, one for declaration and second one is for assigning. Then for control you have if and the function call statement. Then for looping you have while, for, and do. Now this is how it looks in case of Flogorithm. So you can see here on the left hand side there's a flowchart, so which has been drawn using Flogorithm, right? It starts with main, then variables have been declared and data type has been assigned. So integer I, n, and sum. Then sum has been initialized to 0. Then output message is displayed here, enter value for n. Then reading the value for n. Then for I equal to 0 to n, we are adding all those numbers. Basically, we want to perform sum of first n natural numbers and printing the result. So now on the right hand side, you can see here that we have just selected the language. So we have selected the language as Python and it has displayed the code. and in the bottom right corner, it has executed the flowchart. So I have entered the value for n as 5, and it has calculated the sum of first 5 numbers, and it has displayed the result as 15. So advantages are that it is easy to use, drag and drop functionality is supported, corresponding code generation is possible, and it is very beginner friendly and great tool to learn problem solving. Disadvantages are like code generation is limited. So for example, 2 or more dimensional arrays are not supported yet. Then language specific features such as broadcast operation is not supported. So this is whatever operation you are seeing in the bracket, that is dot star. It's not a broadcast operator in Julia, so it is not supported. Then presently no support for Indic language. I think it presently supports only one Indian language for the user interface. Now, if you want to add your own language support, say for example, if you don't find a language support for say Kotlin or Rust, then you need to edit the template files. Okay. So I had developed the support for Julia using the Python's template file. So it's very simple. Just go on making the changes, go on defining the grammar, and your Python and your template file will be ready. So you just need to select that particular language when you are generating the code. So let's uh, see how it works here. So I think I have this file here on my screen. Uh, okay. So you can see here that it's a template file for Julia. So just specify the language as Julia, then extension will be JL for Julia language, then define the keywords from a particular language. So I'm explaining here how you can add the language support for your own or your language, or if it is not supported by Flogorithm. Then if it is case sensitive, then specify true, then specify the data type supported by your language. Okay, so in this case these are the data types I have specified for Julia. Then function ID specify the convention, is it camel case or whatever. Then again variable convention is camel case. Then what are the string literals supported in your language, so specify those things. So in this file you are just specifying the grammar for a specific language. So I have just modified the Python template file for Julia language. So you can pick a template file and you can modify it. So you will find this template file on flogorithm.org website. So you can download it and start editing. Then you can specify the Boolean literals, then integer literals, real literals, right? Then specify the precedence of operators. So more in most of the languages, precedence of operators is the same. Need not have to worry much about it. And specify string concatenation, then add operation, then subtract operations. So you can see here we have just specified the grammar. Okay. So after specifying the grammar for arithmetic operations and logical operations, we are now specifying for expressions and sub-expressions. Then intrinsic functions. Okay. So you can specify intrinsic functions, that is which are built in the language. You can also add your own functions here. So that is possible if a particular um, function is not supported. So it allows you to add your own user defined functions here itself. So since I have edited the Python template file, you can see here that it shows a comment that Python lacks a sign function, so this code implements it. Okay. So similarly, if a particular function is lacking in your language, then you can directly write it here. Then here the function syntax is specified. So it's just a grammar. Just you need to specify the grammar. Okay. So similarly, array syntax has been specified. While loop, for loop, do loop, if conditions. So all these.
Sorry for interrupting. We have only 5 minutes left.
Thank you. So after defining the grammars, your template file will be ready. So this is how you are going to define the template file. So we'll write a very small code. So just maybe a hello world here. So I'll say then we'll generate a code. So before that I can set a UI maybe. Oh, again it's not responding. It may take a minute. Yeah, but what happens here is it supports code generation. Now you might have seen that we have generated code. So let me execute. Yeah, you can see here hello Foscom message. And if we select a different layout, yeah, so this is the layout we'll choose, right? So it's auto pseudo code here, and you can select any language. So if I select Python, so you are getting Python code, right? These are languages supported. If you want any other language, you just need to select the template file. Yeah. So with this, we have generated the code in Julia language. Okay, it's a very nice tool. Even it allows you to change the language of user interface. So we'll move to the final slide. So future goals are add Indic language support for Flogorithm. So if you particular language support is not supported, then you can contact the creator and he will send you the details how you can do it. Then customize Blockly for more languages. Then code visualization uh, tools are required, and we need more advanced features in code visualization. Then more gamified tools are required for enhanced learning. So thank you everyone. If there are any questions, I can take up the questions.